Lalita and the Story Weaver. In a quiet village nestled between rolling green hills, there lived a little girl named Lalita. Lalita loved words more than anything else in the world. While other children played in the fields or chased butterflies, Lalita would sit beneath the great banyan tree with a book in her lap and a pencil in her hand, scribbling stories in her tiny notebook. Her stories weren't just ordinary stories. In her mind, they were filled with adventures, castles that floated in the clouds, rivers that sang songs, and heroes who found magic in the most unexpected places. But Lalita had a secret fear. Every time she finished a story, she would close her notebook and tuck it away under her bed, unsure if her words were good enough to share. "I want to be a great author someday," she would whisper to herself. "But what if no one likes my stories?" One evening, as Lalita sat beneath her banyan tree, staring at a blank page, the wind began to pick up. It wasn't like any wind she'd felt before. It was soft, warm, and carried a faint, musical whisper. The branches of the trees swayed gently, and the leaves rustled as though they were speaking. "Why do you hesitate, little one?" came a voice, soft and kind. Lalita's eyes widened. "Who's there?" she asked, clutching her pencil tightly. "I am the Story Weaver," the voice replied. "I live in the whispers of the wind, the flicker of a candle's flame, and the spaces between words. I've watched you, Lalita. Your stories are beautiful. Why do you hide them?" Lalita felt her cheeks flush. I'm afraid they're not good enough. What if people don't like them? What if they laugh at me?" The wind swirled gently around her, almost like an embrace. Every great storyteller begins just like you, with doubts and questions. But the most important stories are the ones that come from the heart. They don't have to be perfect. They just have to be told. Lalita's heart skipped a beat. "But how will I know if I'm ready?" The Story Weaver's voice grew softer, like a melody. "You are ready when you begin. Share your stories, little one. The world is waiting." The next morning, Lalita woke up with the Story Weaver's words still echoing in her mind. She pulled her notebook out from under her bed and read through her stories. Some of them made her smile, others made her cringe. But she decided that the Story Weaver was right. It was time to share them. She gathered her courage and showed her favorite story to her teacher, a kind woman named Mira who always encouraged her students. Mira read it carefully, her eyes twinkling as she turned the pages. "Lalita, this is wonderful," Mira said. "Your imagination is like a river. It flows beautifully, and it's full of life. You must write more." For the first time, Lalita felt a spark of confidence. She began writing every day, pouring her heart into her stories. She shared them with her classmates, her neighbors, and even the kind old librarian at the village library. Slowly, word began to spread about the little girl who told the most enchanting tales. Years passed, and Lalita grew up. Her little notebook turned into dozens of journals, each one filled with her dreams and ideas. One day, she sent one of her stories to a big publishing house in the city. She didn't expect much. They received so many stories from so many writers that she decided to try. Weeks later, a letter arrived. Her story had been accepted. Lalita could hardly believe it. Her first book was published, and it quickly became a favorite among readers. People from far and wide were enchanted by her words, and she began receiving letters from children who said her stories made them dream bigger and believe in magic. But Lalita never forgot the banyan tree, the whispering wind, or the Story Weaver's advice. Every time she wrote a new story, she remembered the courage it took to share her first one. One evening, years later, Lalita sat under the same banyan tree, now with her own daughter beside her. The little girl was clutching a notebook, just like Lalita had done so many years ago. "Mama," her daughter said, "do you think my stories are good enough?" Lalita smiled, her heart full. Every story that comes from your heart is worth telling, she said. Just remember, my love, the world is waiting for your words. And as the wind rustled through the banyan tree, Lalita thought she could still hear the story weaver's soft whisper, "Well done, little one." And so, Lalita's stories continued to shine, inspiring new dreamers and storytellers for generations to come. Good night, and may your dreams be as magical and full of possibilities as Lalita's stories.